Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops Cold War in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Groza assault rifle, which in my opinion is kind of like a new Grau, not only for Black Ops Cold War, but also for the Warzone integration. I initially had a very hard time with this weapon because I misunderstood its niche. Given the amount of attachments that seem to indicate a boost in speed or handling, and the overall good handling stats of the weapon, I thought that what it was going to be is an AR SMG hybrid, a good like rushing assault rifle, but that's not really the case. What it actually is an excellent medium range combat weapon with a fast enough time to kill to surprise people that are rushing you with SMGs and things like that. I think the weapon is great in 6v6 multiplayer, and it's one of a few good Cold War weapons that have been added to Warzone, and as a matter of fact, I think it's good enough to be meta in Warzone. It might actually be one of the go-to assault rifles. So let's jump straight into the stats so I can tell you what I'm talking about. The Groza bullet velocity is 650 meters per second, which is the fastest in the assault rifle class. It's not as fast as some of the light machine guns or some of the, tactical rifles, but that's an overall pretty fast bullet velocity for Black Ops Cold War, and it's the best of all the assault rifles. However, I still do enjoy boosting the bullet velocity on this weapon even more just to make it that much more lethal and easy to use at those medium long range engagements. The Groza damage profile is pretty straightforward for rifles. It'll kill in 5 or 6 shots depending on how far away you are from the enemy, dealing either 34 or 28 damage depending on how far away you're going to be. Headshots are going to grant you 1 less shot to kill at all ranges with this weapon. It is important to note that you might need multiple headshots to get this if you're going for like long range engagements, but headshots are your friend and they have the standard 1.4x multiplier. Another thing that's pretty standard is the maximum damage range at 38 meters. When we get into the assault rifles in depth, you'll see this number quite a lot. Nothing exceptional there. However, the rate of fire is pretty nice. The Groza rate of fire is 750 rounds per minute, which is the second fastest in the assault rifle class. The Fafar is a fair bit faster, but it deals less damage, so I'm not sure it's fair to compare. But overall, it shoots pretty quickly for an assault rifle, but not so quickly that you're going to notice it or think that it's an absolute bullet hose or something like that. When you do the math on all these numbers, you'll find that the time to kill for 5 shots is 320 milliseconds, and for 4 shots, that's going to be 400 milliseconds. These numbers are pretty normal for assault rifles. They're not too far off the curve. I would say they're slightly faster than average for almost all ranges, but they do cluster closer to average than they do to fast. It's just average fast, medium fast. I don't know how you be extra medium exactly, but it's just faster than average, but it's not exceptional. What is exceptional, or one thing that I believe helps, is that the Groza is a lot more forgiving than other assault rifles due to the higher than average rate of fire. And as we discussed earlier, it's not so fast like the MAC-10 that you can shoot 2 bullets before you blink an eye, but it's fast enough to where if you miss a shot or two, it's not very important to your time to kill, and you can get back on track more easily than other assault rifles. One thing that is really fast on the weapon and really good is that it has excellent handling stats. It'll aim down sights at 266 milliseconds and sprint out in 266 milliseconds. This is tied for fastest in the assault rifle class. The XM4 has these same stats, but all of the other assault rifles are slower. So that's one of the reasons I thought that this was going to be like an excellent rushing weapon that I could super kit it to make it competitive with SMGs, but that didn't quite work out because SMGs are already like faster than that and have better attachments for that and a lot of different things. So I thought that I was going to build like this close quarters combat rushing assault rifle, but really that wasn't it. I didn't understand the recoil because the base recoil on this gun is very bad. It's perhaps the worst in the entire game, or the worst in the assault rifle class. If you're not running any recoil mitigating attachments, it kicks all over the place. It kicks like a mule. It's difficult to even describe the pattern that it makes. It's so messy. It's like watching that elephant paint art. You just never know what's coming next. However, surprisingly, if you add a lot of the recoil reducing attachments, you can make it very accurate and easy to use. To be fair, not as accurate as the AK and some of these other weapons, but accurate enough to where it's going to feel good. It's going to feel like you can pop people at long ranges. It's going to feel predictable, masterable, and I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy it when you put these recoil reducing attachments on it. Once you've got those attachments on there, you can see that the recoil pattern is the weapon's true strength. It isn't the lowest recoil, but it's low enough to control easily, and it has a slightly faster than average time to kill, and it's fairly forgiving, so it's going to be a very easy to use Grau-like weapon that works in a whole lot of different situations, and I think that's why I'm seeing so many people use it. So for hipfire, we're going to move ahead just a little bit. It's standard assault rifle hipfire, 7.5 milliradians, nothing there. Pretty basic reload time at 2.3 seconds, nothing really fancy there. This weapon's a little bit different for me. I do like running big mags on it because I I spray a lot and waste my ammo. And by spray a lot, it's not quite like the Mac 11 where I'm in people's faces, but rather I'm kind of treating it like a Grau, like a suppression weapon. I'm just hosing them. I'm dumping 50 rounds into them at long ranges. I'm just going to keep shooting. If my recoil gets off, instead of stopping shooting, it's easy enough to just pull back down and try to put it on target, both in Warzone and multiplayer. So running the biggest, best magazine that you can put on the weapon is very beneficial. These are iron sights that I love. I rarely say that, but I think that the iron sights are god tier, but I do struggle with the muzzle flash. I like how open they are. I like how clear they are. I like how thin the little bar in the middle is. I like how easy it is to track with the very top tip of the thin bar. But if I'm not running a suppressor or something, the muzzle flash tends to get a little bit bright, and I kind of struggle to track enemies with it. If you're going to go iron sights, I'd actually recommend the suppressor just to remove the muzzle flash more than anything else. So the Groza has a couple of strengths, and it's kitted for low recoil form, and I'll show you that class in a minute. It has a slightly faster time to kill at medium range than most of the weapons in the game. It's easy to master recoil pattern, and it's very forgiving if you miss shots. I might add one more in here, and then that slightly faster than average time to kill is kind of nice when close quarters people are rushing you with SMGs and shotguns and stuff too. It does have two weaknesses though. Even though it's kind of nice to have in close quarters combat, it is not a true close quarters combat weapon. You shouldn't be trying to challenge shotgun users and MP5s with it if you can avoid it. You should just be trying to make it work in those situations. And because of the recoil and a few other things, it's not quite as awesome as some of the other assault rifles at extremely long ranges, so it's not going to map people quite like an AK will. Overall, this is my favorite Black Ops Cold War assault rifle to use in Warzone. It subjectively feels like a faster time to kill Grau. So the Warzone weapons all have different stats, and we're working on a number of things to kind of demystify that. And a lot of them got their recoil properties tweaked pretty significantly. A lot of the weapons kick really hard or don't kick, and they're kind of bizarre. But the Grau's performance is similar enough to its low recoil multiplayer performance where you probably won't notice a difference too much. You'll be able to kind of master one and master both as long as you're using the two recommended classes. And because of that, it feels easy to use in Warzone. The bullet velocity is nice enough to hit people. The damage is nice enough to delete people. The magazines are big enough to be competitive. And overall, I'm very happy with how it performs. In my opinion, the next time you play Warzone, you should definitely be willing to pick it up and give it a go. It might be your new favorite weapon. And now I'm going to recommend you two classes. I'm going to recommend the low recoil class for multiplayer, and then I'm going to recommend the 5 attachment class for Warzone that worked the best for me. So for base multiplayer, my weapon kind of looks like this. It's not that complicated of a class. I like the Microflex LED sight again. It's a very simple, clean, classic red dot, difficult to go wrong with. I use the KGB Eliminator muzzle to get rid of a little bit of muzzle flash, but also help my vertical recoil. We take the penalty, but we'll fix it in a moment. There's this really nice barrel that's the GRU composite that gives you both effective range and bullet velocity with no downsides. To be fair, there are other barrels that give you more effective range and more bullet velocity and do more interesting things with this, but they come with some kind of downside. However, I'm very happy with this pure bonus barrel. I don't need a whole lot more than that. I use the basic mounted flashlight on this one so that I can see the little red dots and to give me a little bit of extra reveal distance without any more downsides. And as we talked about fixing the recoil, you're going to use the Spetsnaz grip to kind of tighten up your vertical and fix the horizontal recoil to make it much easier to use. The big magazine at the end, excellent. Hurts the ADS time a little bit unfortunate there, but we're going to cancel that out. The big magazine is great for spraying and reload quickly. The GRU elastic wrap is great so that you can drop shot people and so that you fix your aim down sights time from the big magazine. You lose a little bit of sprint out time, but you're not supposed to be rushing people with this anyway, so it shouldn't hurt you. And then finally, the marathon stock. I just like a little bit of bonus there, and I don't really need any of the other things. So as far as I'm concerned, that's just touching up my weapon and making it a little bit more hipfire friendly. Moving along, let's take a quick look at the Warzone class. This one's a little different. I'm going to be running the GRU suppressor so that I can stay off the radar. It functions more like the monolithic suppressor in this mode. I'm still going to be running the same barrel that boosts bullet velocity and range, the same optics, the same foregrip actually to reduce recoil, and the 60 round fast mag, which is a little bit different than what we have going on in Black Ops Cold War. But with this class, you're going to get a decent medium range gun with a good time to kill that's pretty masterable, pretty consistent, and I had a lot of fun with it. I genuinely enjoyed using this gun, so I strongly recommend the next time you're in Warzone, you should pick it up off the ground. There's a lot of ground loot variants of it. Give it a try and let me know what you think, because I think you just might like the Groza, and it just might replace your Grau class. Well, guys, that's the end of this episode of In Depth. I've covered all of the new weapons. Whenever the Street Sweeper shotgun comes out, or the new melee weapons come out, or whatever new content comes out, I'm going to try to be more on top of it and try to be less salty about various things. Moving along, we're going to be going into the M60 pretty soon, then restarting the assault rifles, and then I think I'm going to take a crack at that big gnarly Activision patent that's flying around. The one about the nerfing you mid-game matchmaking thing that was technically for Skylanders, but the community's still mad about it. I'm going to kind of do a deep dive into that and see what I can find, and it should make for a fun video. Either way, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.